welcome to the Kemetic How-To Guide for Egyptian Pagan and Kemetic practitioners. I'm your host, Sharon. It's been a while since I've put a video here on YouTube, but hopefully we can make that wait worthwhile today. Our topic, by request, is ritual garb. What would be good things to wear for your own practice or if you were participating with a group? Generally speaking, Kemetics don't work sky-clad. There may be some exceptions in private rituals, but none that I'm aware of. So what would be good things to wear? Let's find out. First, let's talk about what not to wear. This may be fine for a goth shindig. Anybody remember Vampires the Masquerade? But it's just not proper Kemetic attire. For one thing, the main fabric that the Egyptians had was linen, and it doesn't take dyes very well, so they wouldn't have been wearing a lot of black, if any. For another thing, they're in the desert. This would have just been too hot. However, that being said, this might be a more appropriate modern Egyptian look, especially if you add a hijab headscarf. This is called an abaya, and this is a robe traditionally worn by women when they go out in public. And you can buy these online, and they're actually very nice. I also like to wear this when it gets a little bit cooler out as a jacket. And what's interesting is there are written descriptions of clergy from the Roman period that were part of the Isis religion, and they wore black over white robes. So you could also use an abaya for officiating. This is another Middle Eastern garment, and it's called a thobe. And real quick, a disclaimer for any of our Middle Eastern friends who might be watching this. Please don't be offended, because I know that this is traditionally worn by men when they go to the mosque for prayer. If there's an appropriate equivalent garment for women, I invite you to do some videos explaining that for us so that those of us here in the West will be able to learn more about that. I would love to watch more videos about traditional Middle Eastern clothing. That being said, a thobe, this is great ritual attire. I mean, it is made for worship and prayer, and it's great for the wintertime because of the long sleeves. You can buy these online. Prices vary. I got this one from a seller here in the United States for about $30. They can go upwards in price from that. Sometimes it depends on the brand name. This is a traditional Egyptian dress called a kaftan, and also something that I bought online. It's, as you can see, it's very beautiful colors. This would be wonderful for spring festivals and spring rituals. Because of all the lovely colors. You can't see it from here, but it goes all the way down to the floor, and it's got this wonderful embroidery in it. They also make a short sleeve version, and obviously this would be very comfortable for summertime. And what's interesting is we know that they did have embroidery in ancient Egypt because King Tut was found with a tunic that had very rich embroidery on it that had faded over the centuries, of course. And at that point, because it was all done by hand, it was probably very expensive, which is why the pharaoh had it and most average people didn't. But today with machines, you can get embroidery like this, and this is very popular to see dresses that are embroidered like this. Incidentally, this and the other kaftan, I got both of them from eBay stores that are based in Egypt, and they were $10 each, plus another $10 for shipping. That's much cheaper than you would pay for the same thing in the United States or in Great Britain. So, support Egyptian entrepreneurs. We certainly know that the people there could use help. It's obviously been very tough there the last few years. So support the local folks there and go shop online. Some keywords to look for are kaftan, galabaya, there's a variant of that, jalabaya, and also thobe. On to homemade garb. Egyptologists call this a bag tunic. Not like they'd ever wear one, right? But compare this with this. It's the same basic pattern. It's very comfortable, very light and cool in the summertime, which if you live where I do, that's a definite must. I also cover how to sew one of these yourself if you're so inclined in Following the Sun. Now, make the tunic shorter, about mid-thigh length, and add a kilt, which you can't really see because the camera cuts off, but that would be another stylish Egyptian look. And if you can't get a hold of a tunic top, you can also use a t-shirt. Design optional, of course. If you think about it, the pattern for a t-shirt and the pattern for a tunic are virtually identical, so some things don't change. Now, if you're not officiating for anything, because remember, in ancient times, Egyptian priests usually didn't wear very flashy jewelry. They wore pretty plain garments. But if you're not officiating, you can rock this look even further and add a bead collar and a sash. Which, again, let me see if I can... I'm flashing everyone. But bead collars like this you can get online. Again, they're about $20 or $30, depending on how elaborate you want to get, but you can buy them from places online. And a sash, like this one, you can get from Walmart. And these are good not only to tie around your waist, but also as a stole. Stoles were marks of priestly office. They apparently were called kani in Egyptian, and the different kinds represented different things. A white sash or stole like this was the mark of a karihab, or elector priest. If you'll notice, the god Jehuti is typically pictured wearing a sash like this across his bare chest, and that indicates his role as the quintessential karihab or lector priest, because remember, he was the Lord of Sacred Words. The leopard stole indicated the rank of either a sem priest, who had functions in performing the opening of the mouth, or the chief priest in Heliopolis, or Yenu, which was the center of worship for Ra. And I wear one to indicate my roles as a teacher whenever I'm doing videos, whenever I officiate, and also to honor Ra. Last but not least, footgear. Leather sandals were an everyday thing. If you were going into the temple or doing some kind of officiating or attending a ceremony, you would wear sandals that were plaited rush, woven reeds. And if they still make something like that in Egypt, hey, that's something that those of you that are in country might be able to sell online. There would definitely be a market for them. These are Zori, and I got these at an anime show. They work pretty well. They're plated rush. The only problem is they don't last real long. The thong on this one just came out, so I can't use them anymore. Fortunately, they're fairly cheap. So that's something that if you were officiating or you wanted to, not wear something leather, that would be one way to go. While we didn't talk very much about jewelry, one thing that I can cover, and if you can see this, this is, it looks like turquoise, but it's actually ceramic, much like a material that the ancient Egyptians were quite fond of, being faience, which was much easier to afford than real turquoise. But both were considered sacred to goddesses such as Hathor and apparently Sekhmet as well. It was apparently a tradition to wear a red dress and turquoise or faience for festivals in honor of Sekhmet and Hathor. This is according to Death and Salvation in Ancient Egypt by Jan Osman. Hopefully this will give you plenty of ideas for your own ritual garb, or maybe even some nice everyday wear. And something to keep in mind, while traditional Middle Eastern dress is often very gender specific, as we looked at some of the examples, I encourage our viewers who are gender neutral, I guess might be a good way to put it, explore what's out there. There might be something that you like that, as I demonstrated with the Thobe, was originally meant for one gender, but you might be able to apply it elsewhere. Also, with the homemade garb, you can get much more unisex with that. And for you viewers who can sew, hopefully this can give you some ideas for commissions to do for friends, or maybe even merchandise for an Etsy store. So, for the Kemetic How-To Guide, this is Sharon wishing you Senebti.